go ahead and start. Start with introductions again. I'm Jim Michalis. Gary?
Morley.
Tschirki, Public Works Director.
Rob Moore, Board Member.
Mike Whimpey, Commission Member.
Tyler Peay, Assistant Public Works Director.
Jim Moore, Parks Division.
Steve Price, Assistant Public Works Director.
Steggell, Streets and GIS Divisions.
Sabey, Stormwater Division.
Thayne Carter, Fleet Manager.
April Nielson, Administrative Assistant.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Guess we can go ahead and, Jim, it's all yours, I think.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I got a presentation ready for you this morning about our Parks Division. There's a lot of slides, a lot of pictures to look at, a few interesting facts along the way, and if you have any questions, please ask. I got more knowledge in my brain than I do on the presentation, so.
Brent.
Morning.
Jim, before you start, I think it might be a good, Orem's a little unique in that their parks and recreation departments are separate from one another. Recreation does the programming of fields that have the fitness center that they're responsible for.
How are you?
Senior Friendship Center. Whereas parks falls under the umbrella of public works, where we're maintaining properties and playground equipment and things like that. So most communities have a parks and recreation department. We don't. We have the parks division within the public works department. That's why Jim's here today.
Yeah, and before we even start, all of you that voted to continue the care tax in the election last week, thank you. If I understand, it passed about 60% to 40%, roughly right in there. And that has helped us immensely over the past 5 or 6 years, so it's much appreciated.
Can I go back to Reed's point? Why? Why do you have two separate departments?
That decision was made years ago. And never decided to join
Okay.
it.
I mean, I can see some reasons why you would, and I can see some reasons why you wouldn't. So I'm just curious what if there's a reason why you have two
I think
departments.
that a lot of the resources that we have in public works, we share. And when it comes to maintenance of parks, it's, the assets that we have, the equipment that we have can benefit them that we use in other areas as well, is one of the reasons.
And that's the reason you usually have in one department, because you use the same people, the same equipment, et cetera. And for accounting purposes, it makes sense to have the same department. That's why I'm trying to figure out. Now you raise the point, why?
Yeah,
We don't get involved at all with any programming, any Orem Youth Soccer, baseball, Frisbee, whatever, and any tournaments. All we do is we do the operating and the maintenance of the facilities. We make sure they're upkept very well, and we have a very good team, I think, effort with the recreation. I'm not sure, is Parks and Rec, are they typically combined throughout the nation? I mean, I'd like to know. I mean, is it more than 50%?
I don't know if there's a nationwide average out. I know here in the state of Utah, it's probably a 50-50 thing from what I've seen. Some
Yeah.
cities around here are Parks and Rec, and some the Parks Department is completely separate, so.
But our emphasis is the maintenance and the care of the facilities, and we work with engineering as well on expansion of facilities, on designing new facilities, and bidding out new projects. Hillcrest is an example. I think Jim probably speaks to that a little bit here. So,
Thank you. Thanks for answering.
Okay. Okay, our Parks Division is divided into 5 separate groups, or 5 separate areas. We have the parks and parkways, and we'll go into more of these each in detail. But we take care of roughly 23 areas that I classify as a park, and numerous parkways, everything from the freeway entrances on I-15, the 4 Orem entrances, all the way to the tiniest little grass strip over there on 800 North. We have 7, I wanted to go back to that. We also include the cemetery, Cemetery has 5 full-time employees up there, divided into the upper and lower cemetery. The lower cemetery opened up here 3 years ago, roughly. Also forestry, we have a forester that takes care of the 7,400 trees that are in the city of Orem, growing constantly. We have a volunteer coordinator. Laura Bascom is our volunteer coordinator. She works with the court hour people that are signed by court to work off their debt to society through court hours. She works with the Eagle Scouts on many of their groups, a lot of the different church groups that are doing a service project of some sort, a lot of youth groups in the summer especially. She also works with different groups out of BYU and UVU, and even at some points has had the Girl Scouts, the Brownies, a bunch of little 8-year-old girls come and clean out a pavilion or something like that. So she works with them. And just this year, we added a new position in parks. It's a sports field supervisor. He does a lot of that coordinating work between parks and the recreation department. He works with the scheduling that they have, and we do the maintenance on the fields to make sure our maintenance matches their scheduling of the soccer fields, softball, hardball, and the different Orem Youth League programs. Our parks are divided into these different categories. We have 7 regional or community parks. Mount Timpanogos Park is located up Provo Canyon, approximately 1 mile from the mouth of the canyon. It originally started out as the home for the Storytelling Festival, but due to size, essentially the Storytelling Festival outgrew the park, and they moved up to the Thanksgiving Point here a few years ago. We have Palisade Park on 800 North and about 1300 East. That is located at the original location of the old Cascade Golf Course. We have City Park in the center of town between Center Street and 100 North and 4th East and State Street. It encompasses the city center buildings, the police station, courthouse, library, all of the ball fields in that area, and the senior citizen center and the arboretum. We also have Sarah Park on State Street at about 600 South. Sarah Park has a bunch of amenities, and we'll go into that in a little bit. Community Park, located right behind the Orem Rec Center. The Lakeside Sports Complex is just off of Geneva Road, just west of Geneva Road on the border between Vineyard and Orem. Nielson's Grove Park, located in the south end of town at about 1600 South Carterville Road. And the soon-to-be, actually I could probably change this, just last week we had the grand opening of the park side of Hillcrest Park. We have neighborhood parks throughout the town. We'll define them a little bit better. But Bonneville Park, Cascade Park, Cherry Hill, Foothill, Geneva, Northridge, Sharon, Skate Park, Springwater, the Timp Retention Basin, Westmore Park, and Windsor Park. We also have a couple what we call just mini parks or pocket parks throughout the town. Well, there's not many, there's only 2. We have Cherapple Park, if any of you are familiar with the Heather Ridge neighborhood, it's up in that area. And we have the mini park, it doesn't have an official name. It opened up just a couple years ago. It's at the trailhead for the Murdoch Canal Trail on 800 North.
With that new tank, we had a 10 million gallon tank, is that gonna be the park, is that in the neighborhood parks, where is that gonna be?
The which one now?
So the one that.
Heritage Park, what would it classify
400
as?
South.
Oh, Heritage Park,
Yeah.
when,
I can't remember the name.
and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is once that is completed, the tank is completed, there's actually gonna be a park
Yeah.
around and on top of the tank. It is, there'll be a walking trail, there's gonna be a few amenities.
And that'll be a neighborhood park? That will be a neighborhood park?
A neighborhood park, yes.
Thank you.
It will have a restroom facility, a couple small pavilions. There will be no grass or sod there in the park, it's just all trees and plants, rockscape, that kind of thing. Then we have the parkways, just some examples of the parkways. We take care of all of the grassy areas along 800 North, 4th North, 8B, State South, Center Street, University Parkway, the main parkway there. That varies a little bit. We take care of mostly the center median. The two sides are taken care of mostly by the business owners that are along that parkway. And a lot of the things that you find out there on the I-15 interchanges. Breaking down the community parks, Timpanogos Park, 11.5 acres. We have 6 pavilions up there, including a hosting center. Includes a dog park and a bike skills park. The bike skills park is expanding this next year. They are working on plans to expand it more on the, what I would call the west end of the park, up above some of the water facilities up there. Community park is a 44-acre park. We share that a lot with Mountain View High School. They use our tennis courts there. And there's 3 large pavilions, several ball fields, 4-plex in the Orem L area that is used for many of the recreation ball programs. Lakeside Sports Complex is a 54-acre park, has numerous soccer fields and 5 softball fields. City Park, 24 acres, also 6 ball fields down there. We have the stage on the Arboretum end. It's the home of Summerfest and also the location of the All Together Playground.
And lights on.
And the new lights on.
And lights on now, yeah.
Which was amazing. Did y'all see it? It was great.
Yeah, turned out fantastic.
Good work to you guys who put all the lights up and worked on those.
Thank you.
We have Nelson's Grove Park down on the south end of town, just north of Sand Hill Road, about along Carterville Road. 21-acre park. It features fountains, gardens, ponds, 1 large pavilion, 1 brand new large pavilion. We just completed construction on that, and it will open up again next spring for reservations in that. Palisade Park, a 22-acre park. Soccer fields, that is the location of our only, I guess, free splash pad right now. There is another splash pad at the Sarah Pool, but it is paid to get in there. We operate that. Sarah Park, 25-acre park. Sarah Pool is there, the Sarah Shell. Numerous pavilions. It's a very popular park being in the center of town. And then the brand new Hillcrest Park, which partially opened just 2 or 3 weeks ago. The east end of it is now open for the public. The west end will probably open, give or take a little bit, about June 1st of next spring.
Hey, how are the soccer fields recovering at Palisade? I heard there were some overuse issues.
The Palisade soccer fields have had a rough time. We have a brand new sports field supervisor that we hired. He actually came to us from UVU, and we're working on changing a lot of things up there in the care of them, hopefully to get them to the condition that Lakeside Sports Complex soccer fields are. Our biggest problem is well, there's a lot of problems, but wind coming out of the canyon messes up with our irrigation. We have, in my opinion, a poor subsurface there that we're dealing with. We had some issues with the watering. Our water department came in last spring and added a second water connection to the park to provide more water. And so we're working on those different things. I think you're going to see a big difference in the next 2 or 3 years.
Perfect, thanks.
So,
Working on that.
we've started a very aggressive overseeding program at the Palisade Park also.
And then did we limit use? I heard there were some overuse issues there too.
It's used constantly, almost 7 days a week.
So we're resting parts of it?
Yeah,
More?
well, we rest in the winter.
Okay.
It doesn't,
Oh, well, so much for that.
It doesn't get much rest, and that is something now that we do have a sports field person, that he will coordinate more
Good,
with the
okay.
rec center, try to find a little bit of rest for it now and then.
I was wondering if that got resolved. Perfect,
Yeah.
thanks for doing that.
And in altogether, we take care of about 200 acres there in our regional community parks.
Jim, does that number reflect landscaped areas, or does it also include hardscape, like?
No, that number is
Asphalt?
total, that number that I gave there is the total size of the park. That's
Okay.
hardscape,
Parking lots?
landscape, it includes sidewalks, playgrounds,
Okay.
tennis courts, everything, yeah. This is Mount Timpanogos Park, like I mentioned earlier. This is a view from the hill up above. We do have the smaller, but very popular park for weddings, family reunions, picnicking. We have more reservations in this park than any other park. Typical Saturday sees about 12 to 14 reservations in this park. The hosting center probably hosts 2 weddings a week on the average, and a lot of bridal pictures are taken up there. It's a really nice park. We have several people involved. Laura Bascom, our volunteer coordinator, brings a lot of groups up there to try to help keep the flower beds and the shrub beds clean and weeded and everything just looking good.
I might add what he mentioned earlier about the addition to the bike skills park, the phase 3. This is actually taken from a viewpoint where that course would be. This is that hillside that he had mentioned for the new expansion of the bike skills park.
Also, this is our only park that currently is watered with non-culinary water. We take water straight out of the Provo River. It actually comes from the pipeline up above before it's treated and goes into the central Utah watering system, and we filter it and get the little insects and bugs and stuff out of it, and then we water the park with that. Palisade Park, like I mentioned earlier, is the home of our splash pad. Open up from Memorial Day weekend all the way through Labor Day weekend. 6 people in our park staff have AFO certification, Aquatic Facilities Operators certification. And if my understanding is right, the parks will also be taking care of the splash pad at the new Hillcrest Park, which will be opening up for next summer. Nielson's Grove Park, pardon the pictures, they're slightly distorted to get them both on here, but Nielson's Grove Park is the one mentioned on the south end of town. It's probably best known for its fountain and the pond down there and the parterre gardens. I don't know if you can read the sign in this picture, but it was built in the early 2000s. Jorgen Nielson was one of the first settlers in the Orem area. He came from Denmark, and he purchased this land down there, and he actually, the city kind of recognizes it as one of the first parks in the state of Utah. He had a swing down there, which has been replicated, the parterre gardens, he has several fountains, and then, I don't know if you get a chance, visit it in the spring, it's absolutely gorgeous park. Hillcrest Park is the new one we just opened up last week. It's located on the site of the old Hillcrest Elementary. It is just under 12 acres in size. It has one of the biggest playgrounds that we have in the city. It's probably 3 times the size of any of our other playgrounds. Divided up in areas for bigger kids, and then all the way down through toddler age. We have the big bowl in the middle of sod, and I believe the city's plan is to make that the home of the future farmers market, possibly, and also food truck events. It's kind of been designed so trucks and vehicles and that can enter the park easily and not really have to get out on the sod or the grass to sell and have their activity. Sarah Park, located down in the center of town. And like I mentioned earlier, Sarah Shell is there, the Sarah Pool. Then we have the entire Sarah complex. It has two relatively new playgrounds. One is only 2 years old, the other is about 5 or, it's more like 7 or 8 years old now. Has a main pavilion and 4 smaller pavilions, also a very popular park for family reunions, get-togethers, work picnics, that type of thing. Okay, our neighborhood
Frisbee golf
parks.
there too, Jim.
What's that, Reed?
Frisbee golf there too.
Yeah, Frisbee golf also at Sarah, but that is a very popular activity, especially around lunchtime. I believe a lot of businesses in that area take their lunch break and they go out there and play Frisbee golf during their lunch break. Our neighborhood parks average about 5 acres in size. Most of them are located right next to or very close to an elementary school. Northridge Park, for example, is located right next door to Northridge Elementary. Bonneville Park's a little different. Bonneville School's just down the street a little bit, but most of our parks, our neighborhood parks, actually border a school. They have different facilities: tennis courts, pickleball courts, pavilions, restroom facilities. We do have one that has a horseshoe area, and we do have one that has a volleyball area. They all have playgrounds. They total about 64 acres in size. This is Foothill Park. It is right next door to Palisade Park in that neighborhood next to Foothill Elementary. Windsor Park. Windsor Park is up in the kind of the north central part of town. We have 2 softball fields there. A lot of girls softball is played at Windsor Park. 2 large pavilions. It is a relatively popular park also. Bonneville Park has had a lot of renovation work done to it in the last few years. Has brand new tennis court and pickleball courts, brand new playground with shade structures. The bathrooms were renovated on the inside. And it also is surprisingly, I want to say Bonneville is probably our busiest neighborhood park that we have in the city. We have Cascade Park there on the right. We've done a little bit of work in Cascade Park lately, mainly in the tennis court area. We put new lighting there and we resurfaced it, did some fence work. On the left is Westmore Park, a brand new playground in Westmore Park, and we recently rebuilt the fence around the park. It's, if you want to find the shady park in the summer, that's the park you head to. Westmore has a lot of trees. Sharon Geneva Parks. Just this past year, we opened up 2 new restroom facilities. Both of them look exactly like this one. This is the facility at Sharon Park. You can see it borders also Sharon Elementary, which I believe is one of the schools that closed. I'm
It is
not
closed,
sure.
unfortunately.
But anyways, it borders the elementary school there. Sharon Park also has pickleball courts. Then on the right there is just a quick picture of Geneva Park. Geneva Park has had a lot of renovation work. The playground there is brand new. It's only 3 years old. We've installed or built the futsal court there about 4 years ago. A little bit of help there from Real Salt Lake.
Has that been pretty popular, as far as you know, Jim?
It seems to be popular in the evenings. I don't really see a lot of people there in the daytime, but it seems to get a lot of use in the evenings. If I look at the records of when the lights are turned on and that, it does. But also on the weekends. Sundays it's pretty popular too, with a lot of the Hispanic community on Sundays.
Do you have much trouble with vandalism, especially in your restrooms?
Yeah, and I got a couple slides on that, and we'll get into that a little more. But actually here at Geneva Park was the old restroom facility. It was one of our worst vandalized areas that we had. Now the new facility so far, so good. But yeah, vandalism is a big problem. I'll get into that a little more. Our mini parks. This is the mini park that is located up on 800 North at the south end of the Murdoch Canal Trail. I believe the actual address is 1100 East on 800 North. It's, I don't know that it gets a lot of use other than trail people, but that's what it was built for. So you just see at the end of the day or the end of the walk, they'll stop there. There's one small picnic table there, small shelter, and a drinking fountain. You just spend a few minutes there.
Which I actually have had a request that there be more benches along the Murdoch Trail. I know that's not necessarily us, but this is great.
Yeah.
And this is Chair Apple Park, the small little pocket park up in the Heather Ridge area of Orem. Parkways, some of the parkways we take care of, 800 North, 400 North, 8 South, 8 East, University Parkway, I-15 is Center Street. There's a lot more than that. They're all over town. But those are the bigger areas that we take care of. This is just, it's a bad time of year to take a good picture, but this is the entryway just off of the hill there by Coles. That's the brand new Orem sign that was just installed here a month ago. We've got some curbing around it, and we're waiting for lighting. As soon as the lighting's in, we'll put some topsoil in, and then first thing next spring we'll plant that area around there. Cemetery is located up in the northeast corner of town. We have the new, in the middle picture, the lower cemetery, the new part. Up on the far left-hand side, there's the Veterans Memorial. Cemetery sponsors 2 events or 2 programs each year. The main one would be the Memorial Day program at the end of May, and the other is the Veterans Day program in November. Forestry. Currently, Josh Story is our forester. It shows him removing some trees when we did the library addition down in front of the city center. He has been our forester for probably 10 years now. Takes care of things that are damaged by big thunderstorms. That was down at Nielson's Grove in a thunderstorm this past summer.
So Jim, at the city center, how many trees did we remove? It was a good number.
Right around 15, right in that.
And we're gonna put in almost like double that, aren't we?
In the new
Yeah.
landscape, yeah, even more than double, probably triple that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our goal is kind of for every tree that we lose for whatever reason, whether it dies or needs to come out because of some type of construction, at least replace it with another tree. So our number is always constantly building. I would guess that 7,400 tree number we have, a couple, 3 or 4 years from now, probably be approaching 8,000 trees. We year after year are a member of, or received the Tree City USA Award. Josh, our forester, participates in the Arbor Day program. The City Council participates in that every year. One thing I didn't include in this, and I might mention, is we do have a disease going around the whole state of Utah that is attacking the sycamore trees. It's called anthracnose. We have started, in fact, just this month in December, we are working with several contractors to start to prune and clean all the dead out of those trees, and we've actually had to remove some. We're hard hit at Sarah Park, Community Park, Lakeside Park, down in the south end of town too. It's a fungus disease, and it's almost impossible to control, except through some selective pruning and that. So we're taking care of that. Our volunteer coordinator brings these groups of people in that I mentioned earlier from churches and different community groups, the scouts, and they just work on different projects around town. I could have included 1,000 pictures in here of what are the different kinds of things they do. Here they're down at Hillcrest spreading playground chips around the totem pole area there at Hillcrest. Down along Carterville Road, this has been a double project. We A couple years ago on the United Way Day of Caring, we started working with the volunteers for that program and did a little landscaping down there. 2 years ago along Carterville Road, along the trail there that connects UVU down to BYU. And we repeated that again this year and extended that landscaping out. This is a small little, so just a dad and his girls that called Laura wanted to know if they could help at Hillcrest Park. They live in the neighborhood, so she got them set up and working on just doing a little cleanup work prior to laying sod in that there at Hillcrest Park. This is another one of her groups. I believe this is in the Ashley Furniture neighborhood. A bunch of overgrown shrubs there. She brought this service group in and they took care of that, cleaned it up, trimmed them up and made it look quite a bit better.
Jim, can you speak to the county sheriff and what we do with them and working with projects like this?
Okay, Laura has a really close relationship with the county program where they have I want to say it's partially a prisoner release and court hour people. I don't know if you've seen them on the freeway, seen them around town. Usually it's a white sheriff's van. You'll see some people out there in vests. They're picking up garbage or that kind of thing. You see them a lot on the freeways. Laura usually gets their services about once a week. It varies from about 4 individuals, maybe sometimes upwards of 10 individuals. She'll get a call in the morning. The sheriff's deputy will say, I have 5 individuals that are working this program today, and we can give you 6 hours of work, and she'll have something ready for them to go. She'll meet them out there with all the tools, the equipment they need, kind of line them up on the project, work side by side with them. And in a lot of cases, they've really helped us out. I know when we laid all the sod down at Geneva Park, the sheriff's crew contributed probably 20 people those 2 days and helped us lay sod for 2 days. And a lot of times you'll get an individual that just doesn't care and pretty much just walks around and doesn't do much, but a lot of times we'll get some very hard-working individuals that are there to work off the hours they've been assigned to work off and that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Flower beds in front of the rec center this past summer were gorgeous. That mainly the work of our volunteer coordinator and her assistant, or the seasonal employee she works with. Sports fields. This is an overhead shot during the construction of the artificial turf that was installed down at Lakeside Park this year. Our sports field coordinator works closely with the rec department. They do all the scheduling and that, but we do the maintenance on all the fields. Artificial turf is new to us. We're learning how to take care of it, learning how to maintain it properly. It still requires a lot of maintenance. We used to have the dirt fields where you'd have to go in and drag them and smooth them up, chalk the lines. You don't have to do that with artificial turf, but you do have to go in there and broom them, vacuum them. You have to respread the little rubber pellets that are intertwined there. We have to spread those again and maintain that.
Okay, can I just ask a stupid question? As a former softball player, how do you slide on artificial turf?
I'm not a ball player. They do.
Do you have to have
So-
special gear, or
It's slick.
No,
is it
it's
super
slick.
slick, so you
Yeah.
have to change your timing?
It's interesting to go down. Have you actually walked on them yet?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. How would I slide on something?
Yeah. I don't know, but they do.
Okay.
Do you water them at all for
No, we
taking them
don't.
down?
No, we don't.
Okay.
I know, and that's kind of something we're trying to figure out what's best to do or not to do.
Yeah, because sometimes that brings a lot of humidity along with it too.
Yeah, we do have to keep them clean. One of the problems is people, will actually get sick and vomit on the field, and that kind of stuff becomes a biohazard, and we got special cleanup kits and things for that. But it's new. This is the first year we've used them where it's a learning process. This winter, 2 new artificial turf soccer fields will be built down at Lakeside Sports Complex. The hope is they will be ready to go by next spring. Construction hasn't started yet. I don't even quite know the delay. I know everything's in place, but
Yeah, I believe they were supposed to start construction the last week of October. Chris and I drove by there just a few weeks ago, and it looked like they hadn't really started anything. We do have a staging area ready to go for the contractor to begin their work. I talked to Debbie Boone. She's the program coordinator for the rec department, and she, I believe, said we were waiting on finalization of the agreement is maybe what's holding things up. So, but yeah, we'll see that begin to break ground here shortly.
Yeah, those 2 artificial fields, once they're constructed, they are lit. So they'll be playing there till 10:30 at night, probably all summer long on it. And it'll be nice on that, then we don't have to worry about giving them a rest.
Yeah, and it'll expand into the shoulder months as well, where they'll be able to start earlier in the season and go later into the season as well.
And special thanks to everybody who voted for the care tax again, because that's why we're able to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a tremendous help.
That's our Chrissy.
Yeah, so these types of fields, like for the athletes, they have to learn how to play on them a little. You know, have to make observations and learn as they play. I think, you know, if I were a shortstop playing on this, getting a shot down there, I think it's going to come a little bit
A lot
faster.
faster.
It's going to skip a little bit more. Or likewise, if you're playing soccer, if it gets a little wet, that ball is not just going to bounce softly. It's going to skip hard and fast. It speeds up the game for soccer, definitely. So there is a difference of how you play on these surfaces. They do look very nice, and you know, like Jim said, we have to look at doing things differently, not just. I mean, like we used to rake the fields, we used to break up the hard clay, we used to mix it in really nicely and put in turfus for water and so forth. This has a drain field underneath, so you'll be able to play on this after a storm event without a problem. Whereas if it were clay, and it would just be a muddy mess, you couldn't play on it for a day or more.
Yeah, and just case in point, this is the logo. There is actually a softball tournament scheduled down at Lakeside for December 15th.
You're kidding.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
Barring any snow.
And now, if there's 6 inches of snow on the outfield and everything, I'm sure it'll be canceled, but
I wouldn't want to be bad.
they currently have one scheduled for December 15th.
Take the tournaments from Mesquite, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe
For
not.
those who dare.
A new addition to our parks fleet this year was this robotic line painter. We actually use it probably 4 days a week, and it's being used 4 to 6 hours a day to paint all of the soccer lines and the other ball lines, football fields, and that at the Lakeside Sports Complex. We transported up to the IHC soccer field and up to Palisade soccer field, and also the city center football fields. Once we learned how to really use it correctly, and by that I mean keeping it clean, the first few weeks we had a lot of problems with it clogging off. We'd have to stop and clean it and everything like that, but the more detail and attention we put into keeping our paint clean and the containers clean, the faster this became, and it's really been a help for painting the fields instead of doing everything with the string line and paint cans and chalk.
What you see on the top of that is the GPS receiver. So it's managed through a GPS system. And I've been out there and walked these fields and looked at the lines and everything, and I was thinking maybe it's going to be wandering a little bit like this, but it's straight. It's dead on straight, and it's pretty impressive.
It's
You
interesting.
could do it better than this.
Yeah, it's really interesting to
Which
watch.
is scary.
It does have an operator. There is a guy there with an iPad, but he just brings the iPad, pulls up the soccer field layout he wants. I'm in Palisade Park, punches it in, and he fills it with paint, and it just does its thing. He kind of keeps an eye on it, but he can kind of be doing other things while it's out there painting also. The Bonneville pickleball courts, we also have courts over at Sharon Park, and we have 12 brand-new courts that will be coming to Hillcrest Park. Those will open up next spring. They are all lit. I believe the rec center plans on hosting a lot of pickleball tournaments and that type of thing over at Hillcrest Park. This is the futsal court over at Geneva Park that we just talked about a minute ago. This is our skate park down on 12th West and 4th North. Very popular with that group of kids that like to skateboard and that. We do have a big graffiti problem. We were talking about vandalism and graffiti. We do have a big problem at the skate park with that. One of the things we have not solved is the damage of vandalism inside the bathrooms at the skate park, so we pretty much keep those locked up and just have a porta pot there because of just ongoing consistent vandalism.
Even with the fire station there?
Even with the fire station there, yeah. You could see the cement, you'd see the different patches of color in the cement. That is from painting over and covering up painted graffiti.
We have some very artistic youth in our community.
Have you tried
Yeah.
cameras?
We've actually began installing cameras and security solutions at all of our parks because of the vandalism we've had. So yeah, that's beginning. I think we've installed a few, but it'll be an ongoing process.
Yeah.
We've only got so much money each year to use for that.
When I first started, the craziest vandalism that occurred there was the kids decided that the steps leading down into the skateboarding area were useless and should be filled in so they could skate down them. So they went and got a bunch of bags of Quikrete from Lowe's and
Started doing their
filled
own
them up and
modification.
just kind of tried to make a ramp going down, and we had to go and put a stop to that. They almost got it done, and in talking to the guy that was leading the effort, who had some concrete experience.
At least a day's work.
At least in their mind. He said, yeah, I got about halfway done, and I thought, this isn't gonna last. But our crews had to go in and chip it out. It was just a head shaker.
Have you gotten rid of the stairs yet?
Yeah. The stairs are still there.
Okay, in the parks, we're divided up, as I've already mentioned, into the sports facility, the parks group, volunteer, forestry, and the cemetery. We have a total of 22 full-time employees. In the summer, we have between, depending on the year, we have between 40 and 50 seasonal employees over about a 3 or 4 month period. 3 or 4 years ago, we had a really hard time getting seasonal employees to come and work. We ended up maybe 20 to 25 during the summer. This past year, it was probably one of the best years we've had in being able to get a full workforce.
So I sat by 3 young ladies who were BYU students at your luncheon.
Yeah.
That worked for parks, mowing lawns. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Jim does a fantastic job hiring staff, and training them. And he has to do it every year. And we have to go through that process and make sure that they understand how to fire up a mower or a trimmer or whatever, and that they're competent and capable. And they don't all make it through the year because they're not necessarily capable or willing or hardworking. And so it's quite a large effort on his behalf. And so I'd like to say just thank you for what you do with what you have and the resources that we manage. And
We are, and some of the other sections here, Public Works might be the same, but 1/3 of my full-time staff was born after I started working here at the city. So there's a lot of teaching going on, so anyway.
And you're only 40.
I wish. Some of the events we're involved in every week is the neighborhood dumpster program. We usually do it for a 6-week period in the springtime, 2 weeks in the fall. Summerfest happens the second weekend in June. Colonial Fest is the 4th of July weekend or week at Sarah Park. It's part of the Freedom Festival, but is hosted here in Orem. We're involved with the United Day Way of Caring, the second week of September, then obviously the Memorial Veterans Day programs, and as of last night, our first big lights. We've had a lights on ceremony forever, but last night was a big step in increasing the size of that event. There's an overhead picture, we took that last week, of the lighting in the Arboretum area of the city park. Last night that was full. The parking lots were full, that park was full. Center Street was a traffic jam, but it'll be a new event for Orem. The Summerfest event in June. Daytime picture there. Orem looks different from the air, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
There's a lot
really
more
good.
trees than I thought.
Yeah. Well, it is an arboretum.
Yes. That is a picture of an arboretum.
But it does provide a different perspective, though, doesn't it?
I've been in that before.
Dumpster program, we hold that in various parks. I think both of these pictures are down at Nielson's Grove Park. This was the United Way Day of Caring project, the one down on Carterville Road, adding that landscaping and drip and xeriscape, rockscape to that area. Reservations, this past year we had 851 reservations in our city parks. This is the brand new pavilion at Nielson's Grove. They're used for all kinds of things, work picnic, work lunches, family reunions, just get-togethers. Reservations are from May 1st to September 30th. Irrigation of the park, I could spend a whole hour here and fast running out of time, but we're coming not to the end stages, but we have over the past 2 years been switching out all of our controllers in our city parks. We have gone to the HydroPoint weather track system. It's a smart controller system. We've invested, with the help from the Water Conservation Fund, probably thus far about $200,000, maybe slightly more, into replacing these controllers. They also have anything we replace and go with this type of controller, we get a rebate from Central Utah Conservancy Water District. We'll get half of the cost of the controller, up to $1,500 back, and also that same pricing structure for the master valves and flow meters. We already did our first report, just turned that in, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and we showed a definite drop in the amount of water we're using, and I'll go into that just a little bit more. But it's been very helpful. It's very user-friendly. It's a computer cloud-based system. You can, with your phone, be out in the park and do anything on your phone that you can do at the computer almost. And it just saves a lot of labor and time, but most importantly, saves a lot of water. The Orem City Parks use 5% of the total amount of water that's consumed in the city of Orem, which probably puts us, I was talking with Quinn, we're probably the #1 user of water in the city of Orem. Probably right there somewhere with UVU or the city parks. But last year we used 390 million gallons of water to keep the parks green. And overall, I think we do a fairly good job. I really do. There's a lot of things that need attention once in a while, but we're trying to stay on top of it and try to be good and friendly with the amount of water that we're allowed. guys out with the winterization of our sprinkler systems, even there on I-15.
So they're blowing out the sprinklers there, right?
Yeah, they're just blowing out
Yeah.
the sprinklers for winter.
Just in case you thought we were spraying water everywhere or something. They're just cleaning up the lines.
Vandalism and graffiti. This year was probably slightly better than it was 2 and 3 and 4 years ago. We've had a really tough time, almost on a weekly basis, maybe even 2 or 3 times a week. We will get some type of graffiti or some type of vandalism. The restroom facility there, that's Windsor Park, somebody decided to light it on fire. We have people that will put the big giant fireworks inside the porcelain fixtures and blow them up, rip sinks off, destroy lights, destroy soap dispensers. I don't have a dollar figure total for that, but it's a lot. It really is a lot. We do get a little bit of help from the sheriff's group. They have a group called TAG that they will, kids that are caught spray painting and put graffiti in, and that get caught and put in that system, they actually have to go out and clean that up. But an awful lot of it, we have to clean it up. It involves repainting it or pressure washing it. A lot of labor, a lot of time. Just a few interesting facts we throw out there. We use about 30 tons of fertilizer in our parks every year. We have over 100 different sprinkler controllers in the city of Orem. The most common calls I'll get is, it's raining out, how come you're watering the park? Well, with this new weather system, we can avoid that. Before, you would have to go out and turn off 100 controllers around the city. Now I can just, from my home, if the system doesn't automatically do it, which it does 90% of the time, I can just push one button and shut the entire city down in one shot. We've got brand new parks we talked about, the Hillcrest Regional Park, the Heritage Water Tank Park, and we'll have the new landscaped area around the new city center coming up, which will be quite nice and rather involved. And coming up new, we got new pickleball courts, tennis and playground court coming at Northridge, sports court and pickleball courts at Windsor coming up in our CIP for next year, I think it is.
Yeah,
Or the year after.
next year.
The turf fields we've already talked about at Lakeside, and also we'll be starting with the reuse water at Lakeside, sports complex in Springville, and we will have a new landscape on 800 North this coming spring. There where it quits in front of the junior high and you're going towards State Street, there's a unlandscaped area that'll be landscaped this spring. And down on the bottom is the link if anybody wants that. It's also on the city website. It's the latest updated version of the Parks Master Plan.
So I didn't see Springwater on there.
What's Springwater?
Springwater Park, isn't that what it's called down by
Is
the?
that, so Springville be Springwater right there?
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh, I
even
put-
didn't you do a new playground down there?
Yeah, there's a brand new, that's a typo, sorry on that.
No, that's okay, but that
But,
made me think of that.
yeah, there's a brand new-
Springwater has a brand new playground. It was in a year ago, maybe 2.
And are
No,
we
just
including
last
that
year.
park in
Was
our
it just
acreage?
last year?
Last year,
Yeah.
yeah, brand new playground at Springwater. And that's it. That's our Parks Department. Any questions?
How do you coordinate, or do you coordinate with like Sarah and Alpine School District?
When
Not as,
necessary.
yeah.
With Sarah Outdoor Shell Theater, we coordinate a lot. We're currently
work
actually
with
working
Adam.
with Adam right now to make some improvements there with some new signage and a new fence around the outdoor theater. They were allocated some care tax dollars, and I'm helping Adam with those projects. So, and we do all of the landscape maintenance within the shell as well. So the technicians that's assigned to Sarah Park coordinates with them regularly to make sure that their maintenance is where they want it when it's time for a show, and just
Yeah.
making sure that's top notch. As far as Alpine School District, it seems that we haven't really had to coordinate with them much because it's been an ongoing relationship for so long that everyone just knows what they need to do. But for instance, they wanted to put a fence up at Sharon, and we would coordinate with them on that and where that fence is gonna go and what that's not the word I'm looking for. I guess alterations to the irrigation system works. We would need to coordinate with them and make sure that all comes together nicely, so.
And we, with our CDBG monies, put in a playground at Sharon a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And I can't remember what it's called, it's some new game, playground.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
But,
I'll
so,
think about it.
now with the closure of Sharon, we're trying to figure out where to put that. It's this particular playground.
Is it,
Gaga.
are you talking
Oh.
to?
Gotcha. Gaga ball?
Gaga ball.
Gaga
Yeah,
ball?
that's it.
Okay. Yeah, see why I didn't remember?
Yeah.
So that is working great. And then I'll say one other thing, just hats off to our rec people, and I think it's you guys too, but I mean, Canyon View has a big grassy area back behind a field next to like the Orchard Elementary Park. Somehow we coordinate
Yep,
with them
yep.
on that. But there, for soccer, this was this big empty field kind of tucked back in the neighborhood that no one was using, and our soccer coordinator, teams were practicing there, and they noticed that, so they started fertilizing it and caring for it a little better, and it has turned into a great facility,
Mhm.
great land that we've coordinated with Alpine to use. So good stuff happening there.
Yeah. Here.
As a user of the parks, I just appreciate you do a great job.
Thank you.
And sometimes I think that needs to be advertised more. Like Orem City sends out their flyers from time to time about things. To me, I mean, you've got some great departments here, Chris. They do a tremendous work, I think. And I think sometimes that ought to be advertised in some of those flyers a little bit so that people really know what's going on and what's actually happening.
Yeah, Jim and his team do an incredible job. It blows me away when we put it all out on paper and you see how much acreage they really take care of and the level of service that they continue to maintain, especially considering that the level of staff and the workforce that he has at his fingertips varies greatly from year to year. The workforce may get cut in half, but the level of service remains the same, and it just goes to speak to Jim's professionalism in the way that he's able to coordinate and find better ways to be more efficient and keep his guys outlined on the things that need to be prioritized. They do a fantastic job and often really struggle to keep things going when the staff isn't there, because the expectations are so high because he's done such a good job for so many years. It's a constant challenge for us with the seasonal help that we have to work with and the training, and they do a tremendous job. They really do.
I have a field supervisor who's going to retire at the end of December, and the other day we were listing out everything that has changed in parks since he started working here, and it was unbelievable. The amount of area, and parks, and facilities and things that have been added.
Is it more than doubled
Oh,
in his
yeah,
career?
more than doubled in his career.
And it's 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive.
In fact, at his retirement lunch, I'm going to read the list out. So it's almost jaw-dropping. It really is.
That's, speaking of advertising, that's something we should advertise and recognize Jason for his efforts over those years, but also advertise, look at what the city has been doing for your recreational opportunities here in the city of Orem. Over the course of his career, and then you can list all of those things that have happened. We've probably added more than 100 acres of new parks. Easily.
Oh, more than that.
Well, we have 200 acres total, right?
Yeah, and I think most of the citizens in Orem don't understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Don't
saying, is
understand.
advertise that.
Yeah.
As a part of a thank you to Jason, but also to educate the public.
Yeah. Well, and I think we throw in there, our recent passage of the Public Facilities Protection Zoning, where there will be a complicated process if anyone ever wants to rezone a park for something else. The public will definitely be notified and make that decision.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Because these are things that just build our community and create this just opportunity for health and well-being besides the beauty, so.
Mhm. And so I'd say, in conjunction with that too, the care tax as well.
And the care tax.
And the care tax.
Yeah.
I think those are great ideas.
So what's that, 10 years? Care tax has helped,
More.
is it been around for more than 10 years?
Actually, more.
This is our
I thought
second
this
one.
was our
It's
10th.
7 years,
Oh,
right?
so 14 years then. Is it, I thought it was,
Is it 5 or
It's
7?
10.
Is it 10?
It's 10 years now.
Oh, is it 10?
It doesn't
Okay.
have
I
to
thought
roll
that's
up
what they
again
said
for
in the
10
bulletin,
years.
but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so much good has been done by, not specifically taxing our residents, but taking it from people who come and shop in Orem. So that's what's wonderful.
Do you know what the final numbers were on the election for the care tax? Was it 65?
I heard it was like 64, 65% to 30,
Okay.
It was like
whatever.
60-40, yeah.
Yeah, when it first passed, I think the first go, it was around 70. So it's still right up there. Yeah. Well, Jim, thank you so much for your presentation. And does anyone have any comments or questions or feedback?
Looking real forward to seeing what you're doing with Northridge.
With Northridge?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The
That's
final,
It's
Yeah, oh,
happening.
no, I know
It's
it's
happening.
happening.
the,
Yeah.
all the
I'm
final
very excited about it.
plans are in and everything. I think it's just a matter of start pulling some triggers.
We do have access to additional monies through grants that are helping us to accelerate some of these projects like Northridge. I don't want to get into a lot of detail, but it's the Land and Water Conservation Fund. We can access monies for some parks where we have built them originally with dollars that were given to us. And we have access now ongoing. We've embraced this with them, and they say, yeah, we have monies available every year. So now we're tapping into that. I think others are learning about it too, so don't tell anybody else.
Yeah, we hired a grant writer part-time,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
she's been so successful that we've now hired her full-time
Yep.
because she has paid for herself just 10 times, right?
Yeah, and Reed was heading that up a few years ago, and then Tyler more recently too from our public works side. So we work together with her.
So we're
Yeah,
just
her name is
coordinating all the
Heather
departments.
Cox, and she's doing a
Yeah.
fantastic job.
She
And-
does a great job.
And that grant that Chris has spoken to, that's 50% match on our money, and we're gonna be using it at Northridge, Windsor, and Community Park.
Yeah.
So all
Nice.
three of our future projects are taking care of
Pickleball,
that,
Windsor.
of that match.
And
Yeah,
the sports court. Yeah.
yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Go ahead, Gary.
Out of Cascade, I think the park is. That's gotta be the most fantastic setting. But for flag football, I would like to complain, there's too much wind out there, it's cold.
What can you do about that, guys?
Jim, we'll work on that maybe next
Yeah.
year. Yeah. Maybe Central can
If we
help
could
us
solve
out
the
with a
wind problem, we can
solution.
solve a lot of the problems of
Yeah.
Palisade Park.
No, seriously though, can you plant trees? Can you do windbreaks? I don't know.
Sure.
These guys can do it if it can be done.
But also I
It's not a
wanted to
bad
thank
idea.
Central Utah, so Mike and Robert, and their organization for helping us with the grants, or
Oh, yeah, it's
the
been-
rebate program that we have right now, and the water conservation funds they're helping us to accelerate the process here and to save water. So, thank you so much for your help, and that part of your organization is, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I think we've got 2 rebate checks so far of almost $60,000. And we still have stuff to submit ongoing for the next 2 years, so.
Well, thank you. Great presentation. Anything else business-wise, Chris?
Business-wise, we've been doing an educational program with Public Works Advisory Commission, I'd say over the last year. We've gone through all of our divisions to educate you. We're gonna get into some challenging issues coming up here in the next little while with funding for requests for fee increases to go towards, for example, the capital facility plan that was approved a year ago. That's a $160 million project and plan that will take probably 20 to 30 years to fulfill. But there are needs that we have to meet, and we're going to be looking at creative solutions to help fund that, and we're going to need your help and input and your eyes on this. So when we take it to the council, we can say that we've all looked at this together, and so appreciate your support. We're going to get that information to you as soon as we have it available. We won't be meeting again until January.
When in January?
Let's have a look. Third week.
Are you talking the 16th?
I suppose, yeah. 16th or yeah. Does that work for everybody?
Okay.
After a holiday.
Is it the day after holiday? That's traditionally not a good idea.
I'll be out of town.
You'll be out of town? How would the 23rd sound?
Sounds good.
That works.
23rd?
Okay, we'll send an invite out then.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Rob's in here,
Yeah,
seconded
yeah,
right
no,
away.
Sorry, apologize.
In favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. It's good to have all of you here today, too. It's like the first time we've had everybody here. So,
Thanks all.
You, Robert.
Linda, I have something for you.
Oh,
Tell
good,
me our time.
okay.
Cody.
I need to talk to you.